Across the many different great episodes that have big battles and huge moments in Game of Thrones, there's one episode that stands out to me in particular, and that's Season 5, Episode 8, Hardhome. Hardhome delivered the most unexpected thrills and really paved the way for the future of the show as a whole. In this video, I'm going to be going over the entirety of the episode and how this single episode changed the landscape of Game of Thrones forever. What most people remember from Hardhome is, of course, the massacre at the end of the episode, but before I get into that, there was a great deal of big events that happened well before we ever get to Jon's point of view. The episode starts off in a very tense room with Tyrion meeting Daenerys for the first time. Jorah tries to get a word in, but Dany cuts him off. She asks why she should believe Tyrion is who he says he is, and he tells her that he's the greatest Lannister killer of their time. She then asks why she should welcome someone into her home that kills their own family. Talk about a hypocrite. But this is back when Tyrion was smart, and he says that he's actually the one judging if she's worthy of advising and meeting. She asks what she should do with Jorah because she said that she would kill him if she ever saw him again. But Tyrion tells her that killing those who are devoted to you does not inspire devotion, so she banishes him from the city once again. We then switch over to King's Landing, where Cersei has begun her imprisonment. The Septa is trying to get her to confess, and Cersei refuses, asking to speak to her son, but the Septa refuses her and leaves the chamber. Cersei screams out of a mix of anger and fear, and we switch over to Braavos with Arya, who's just starting her training with the Faceless Men. She's rehearsing her backstory with Jaqen H'ghar, who gives her a new task in going to the harbor, where she finds a gambler known as the Thin Man. The Thin Man wages on people's lives, and for some reason that means the many-faced god has to take care of him, so Jaqen gives Arya the task of assassinating him by means of poison. Switching back to King's Landing, Qyburn visits Cersei and tells her about her upcoming trial, saying that her chances aren't looking too great. He tells her that King Tommen hasn't taken the arrests of his wife and mother greatly, and sits in his room seeing no visitors. Qyburn tells her that there's a way out, but Cersei still refuses to confess. He turns to leave, telling her the work continues as he's on the way out. Over in Winterfell, Sansa sits imprisoned in her room, and Theon/Reek walks into the room, telling her that there is no escape from Ramsay. She says that what's happened to him is good because he took away her family. Theon tells her that it wasn't Bran and Rickon that he killed, but this is news to Sansa, knowing that her brothers are still out there somewhere. The Boltons plan for the attack from Stannis, and Ramsay comes up with a plan with
20 good men.
Back in Meereen, Daenerys and Tyrion continue talking, this time more privately, about if Tyrion will advise her and if Dany will have Tyrion killed. They talk about their fathers and Dany's current rule in Meereen, and Tyrion says that she's made some good decisions. They also talk about Varys and how he's secretly been helping Dany for a long time. Dany tells Tyrion that she's not going to be killing him, and she's going to be keeping him around as an advisor. Now that he's her advisor, Tyrion says that perhaps she should try wanting something other than the Iron Throne. Dany doesn't like hearing this, but Tyrion continues to tell her that maybe this is where she can do the most good. He goes on telling her that she won't have enough allies to take the throne. She returns by saying,
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
Cersei continues to be broken by the Septa, first offering her wealth and then threatening to end her life. She drinks water off the floor and cries. At the wall, Gilly tends to Sam's wounds he got from the other Night's Watchman when Ollie knocks at the door. He talks to Sam about his conflicted feelings about Jon going to save the wildlings, but Sam says not to worry about Jon.
I've been worrying about Jon for years. He always comes back.
And finally, we switch to Jon's perspective north of the Wall. He arrives at Hardhome, with Tormund having to vouch for him in front of the other wildlings. They call their own meeting, and Jon gives his speech about how they all need to go south or else the dead will kill them all. Jon shows them the dragon glass and tells them it's their best defense against the White Walkers. Several of the wildlings agree with Jon, but the Thenn doesn't and says that they will always be enemies.
I fucking hate Thenns.
The wildlings are evacuating, and Jon worries it's not enough of them, but Tormund says that the others will come around eventually. Then the dogs start barking, and a storm comes through across the other end of camp. The wildlings start running away from the storm, and the Thenn orders them to shut the gates. The other wildlings are shut out, screaming for help, and in an instant, they're silenced. The Whites start attacking, and Jon orders the Night's Watch to defend the wildlings. Jon realizes that they need the dragon glass, so he and the Thenn run to the hut where they run into a White Walker. The Thenn attempts a 1v1 and is easily taken out. The White Walker turns to Jon, who loses Longclaw in the scuffle. Jon tries to defend himself without the dragon glass and flees out of the hut. The White Walker comes after him, and in a last-ditch effort, Jon holds up Longclaw, defending the attack, much to the surprise of both Jon and the Walker. Jon slashes at the White Walker, and it explodes into a million tiny icicles. From above, another White Walker with horns on its head watches Jon from afar. The gates start falling, and they all retreat into the boats, seeing the remaining wildlings get slaughtered. The White Walker with horns walks onto the dock, raising his arms, and the dead rise from the ground. Jon and the Walker have a staring contest, and the episode ends. Like I said, most people remember this episode for the battle/massacre at the end, and there's a reason for that, but there were a lot of other great moments in this episode as well. This episode showed us a glimpse into the future of the show for every storyline. Arya is given her first task by the Faceless Men, Tyrion and Daenerys meet and he's officially given the job as her advisor, Cersei is being broken down because of the High Sparrow, and of course, we finally get to see how real of a threat the White Walkers are. Starting with Tyrion and Daenerys, it's very interesting to see this dynamic begin to form because while they don't really see eye to eye on everything, they do at least respect each other because of their similar past. There's a moment where Tyrion brings up his brother Jaime and Dany goes, "Oh, you mean the one that killed my father?" And it just reminds you how connected these two families are and how much history there is between them, even though this is the first time these characters have ever met. Arya being given a task by the Faceless Men is really her first true test to seeing if she wants to truly become no one, or if she still wants to be Arya Stark. You can see that struggle she has in this episode with the way she talks and how she's still getting used to being in this environment. Seeing Cersei this broken was absolutely insane because throughout the first 5 seasons, we never saw her in any capacity other than being above everyone else in the room. Now she's facing the literal dirt, and it's all because of her own actions that led her there. In Hardhome, she's still very strong-willed and unwilling to compromise, but that of course changes just 2 episodes later when she wishes to confess. With Jon at Hardhome, we got to see how great of a leader he really is. Him commanding the Night's Watch to defend Hardhome showed the wildlings who weren't with him that he was someone to be trusted and looked up to. And if that wasn't enough, then they definitely saw him as the better choice to the White Walker. While this wasn't the first time we saw the Night King, that came in the episode Oathkeeper in Season 4. When he turned the baby into a White Walker, this was the first time that we got a good look at him and realized that he was the biggest threat in the show. This episode was directed by Miguel Sapochnik, who we all know now, but that's because of this episode. Miguel went on to direct Battle of the Bastards, The Winds of Winter, The Long Night, The Bells, and now he serves as producer and director on House of the Dragon. This episode changed the landscape of Game of Thrones for sure, but also for Miguel Sapochnik as well. Another reason this episode stands out is, sadly, because this was the greatest fight against the White Walkers we ever got. We got another small one in Season 7, and none in The Long Night for some reason, so this stands as the best fight against an actual White Walker in the entirety of Game of Thrones. For several years, Game of Thrones had the reputation of having the 9th episode of every season show us the huge climactic moment of that season. Whether that be a big battle or some sort of gut-wrenching death, it was always the 9th episode of the season. But instead, we were completely blown away by having this battle come out of the blue during the 8th episode. So for people like me who were expecting this to be set up for the 9th episode, we were really all blown away by all of this happening. Those are all my thoughts on Hardhome, which is one of my favorite episodes of the show. Let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments below and which episode I should cover next. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. If you do, then I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.